Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. And thank you for joining us today for this this introductory webinar, to our online DBA, hosted by myself, Peter Ludgate, the Senior Recruitment Advisor at Aston Online. And joining me today is Dr. Geoff Parks, the Programme Director.
Hi,
How you doing, Geoff?
Hi. Yeah, pretty good, Pete, pretty good.
Good man. So, studying with Aston University Online, okay, and about the DBA specifically is what I'm going to talk through. The DBA is delivered by the triple accredited Aston Business School, and what we aim to do is combine advanced theory with business research to develop a data-driven research project. It was also recently listed as a premier listed as a premier DBA provider, according to CEO Magazine's DBA Rankings 2025. And what we look to provide is a flexible, student-focused global learning experience through our online virtual learning environment. We've been ranked as a top 25 UK university according to the Guardian University Guide. We were awarded University of the Year for student success, according to Daily Mail. And we are frequently ranked in top 10s and 20s for graduate job prospects and salaries across the board. So, of everything, you may think, why Aston Online? Okay, there are many reasons, which I've already been through briefly, but a bit more about the support and how you can take control of your own schedule. First off, expert tutors and one-to-one feedback are provided throughout your studies. We have a dedicated student success team as well for any pastoral, non-academic questions or concerns. We have a digital library which you have full access to, available 24/7. You will also receive access to the to the Adobe Creative Cloud. Okay. So in terms of taking control of your schedule, sorry, Greg, I just saw your note there. That's okay. Thank you so much. Although there is a recording of this webinar which will be sent out shortly after today's session as well. The program is 100% online, so you're all from wonderful places in the world. No need to visit campus. You are always welcome, of course, although the commute may be a bit of a distance if you're coming from New Delhi. In that case, all online, all on demand to you. You can access your materials anytime, any place. Okay, so long as you have a reliable laptop or PC and a stable internet connection, then the rest will fall into place. What we want you to develop over your time on the DBA is how to create and deliver impactful research. Okay, you'll also be building up your professional network, looking into things like evidence-based thinking and enhancing that skill of yours, and really just deepening that appreciation of critical knowledge. Okay, these fundamental kind of skills and cornerstones to any doctorate-based program. The total fee for the program is £39,000. Okay, it is payable in monthly instalments. You can, of course, pay up front if you want to, although you may choose instead to pay monthly. Either are absolutely fine with us. The duration, most people want to finish it in 4 years, although you can have up to 6 years if you need to. I can see a hand raised from Hassan. Yes, Hassan, I'll just allow you to talk there. How can I help? Oh, you're on mute. Oh, okay, the hand's come down. Okay, might have been an error, no problem. Okay, so if all of this has sounded good to you, then you're probably thinking, what are the entry requirements if you haven't already? Okay, and they're dead simple. What we look for is a UK master's degree or international equivalent in a business or management subject or a related field. So if you have an engineering degree, for instance, master's degree, for instance, then we may be able to consider that. We also look for a minimum of 5 years of senior management experience. Okay, and any international students whose language is not first language rather is not English, we do require that you complete an English language test. Okay, if you haven't got one of those data within the last 2 years, then speak to myself or a member of the team. We can gladly talk you through that process. I have a question here. What is the total duration to pay the total fee? How many months? That would be 48 months in total. Okay, so across the 4 years. Okay. If you do extend your studies, then there may be additional fees on top, which I believe is for going into year 5, you'll be looking at an additional £5,000. And if you go into your 6th and final year, you're looking at an additional £500. Okay, but for the core 4 years rather, you're looking at 39,000, and most people truly aim to be finished in that time. Okay. Faraz, I may have a look at your question. I have an honours degree from UK and MBA from Pakistan. Do I need to have IELTS? Probably not. Okay. If your degree is from the UK, then actually no, you absolutely would not. Okay. So to talk about that more, please book in a call either right now or preferably at the end. There is a QR code for you to scan to book in a call with an advisor. Okay, but that should be absolutely fine. Okay. The degree or transcripts, it will mention that it's distance learning on the transcript, but there is no mention of it being online on the certificate itself, Khaled. Okay. Moving on finally to the application process before I hand over to Geoff to talk about crafting a good proposal. We've kept the process as quick, simple, and as supported as possible. Okay, so it all begins by completing an online application form if you haven't done that already. And then a member of the admissions team rather will be in touch to discuss your career goals and the course in more detail. After that, we will ask for you to complete, or rather supply various pieces of documentation, your CV or resume, ID, a personal statement, a research proposal, which we're going to move on to in a second, 2 references, and also your academic records. Okay. Once we've reviewed those, we will then pass that over to Geoff, to Dr. Parks, who, should you be successful at this stage, will be in touch to either provide further feedback on your proposal or invite you to an interview. Okay. And if that interview goes well, then the next step will be for you to accept your offer by responding to the email and then paying your £1,000 deposit, and then away you go. So without further ado, I think it's a good idea to now move on to what makes a good proposal. So Geoff, I'm going to pass over to you now.
Second, just making sure I'm muted. Thanks very much, Pete. Okay, so welcome everybody. I guess it's what we're looking at. The proposals are really key elements of the application process, because I mean, really, it's kind of, if you think about it as an element of due diligence, not just for us, because obviously we're trying to find, students that have got a predisposition to think like a researcher and to be able to, engage in a academic research community. But also, it's an opportunity for you guys as well to carry out your due diligence. I'm a great believer in our DBA program should be looked upon as an investment. And you're looking for a return on that investment. And one of the questions that we'll ask in an interview is around, how are you going to leverage this qualification? What are you going to use it for? Because, we think it's a good return on investment, but it's important that we hear from you and you get the chance to elucidate in terms of what the return's going to be for you. So we're looking for you to show evidence you've engaged with that website. We've put a lot of time and effort into structuring our website so that it can give you, information from alumni, information from current students on what it's like to be a doctoral student here at Aston. And we're quite keen for you to be able to at least understand what it's like being a research student. So it's important that you can evidence that to some extent. We've got various videos on there unveiling the research journey, and I've actually done a short video on what makes a good DBA application. So if you're unsure after today in terms of you're looking for a little bit more depth perhaps, then there's videos. They're all available via the website. So if you go onto our website, you can see them all there and check them out. But yeah, it's important that we hear from you in the interview on what your research journey is going to look like, and most importantly as well what the research question's about. Okay, well, I got, hopefully, I think I'm struggling to just move the slides on, Pete, so you might just have to, of
course, hang on a second.
Yeah, if you can do that for me. Great. Okay, so in terms of crafting a good proposal, it's important to the way that we're organized as a university. We're organized by department. So I'm in the marketing and entrepreneurship department, for example, and all of our departments have academics who have research profiles, and so you can see all of the individual research profiles if you use these click-throughs. And then we're also organized through research centers. So I, for example, do some work in the Entrepreneurial Research Center. So our overall research output as an institution can be accessed via those sources. And it's quite useful for you in your application if you can reference where you think your proposal sits, either in a department or in a research center. Because, where the whole principle of academic endeavor and academic research is that you're building on the work of other researchers. We'll talk in a little bit about contribution, but this principle of what is doctoral study? It's about making an academic contribution, doing something different, something that's not done before. Now, that doesn't mean you've got to invent something from scratch. It just means that you've got to build something new on the work that's been done by other academics, other researchers in the past. And so what we're looking for you to do in your research proposal is to look at our academics, look at our research centers, and see how your topic fits into them, and quote them in your application, in your proposal. Say, I think my work would fit into the marketing and entrepreneurship department, or it would fit into the crisis research center. That's useful. It's illustrating that you're starting to engage in the academic research process, and that's quite important. Aston, as Pete explained, we're a triple accredited university. I think we're relatively unusual as a business school because the business school is getting on for half the size of the unit. You look at most business schools and universities in the UK, they might be 10-20% of student numbers or revenue or research output within the whole university. We're quite unusual. We're much bigger than that. So our footprint here at the university is quite large as a business school. We run most topics, so there's not a lot you're not going to find in my colleagues' research work that's not going to be included as a modern business topic, a modern research question. But yeah, in terms of crafting a good proposal, check out our research centers, check out our department, and make sure you can identify what's the link between what you want to do and what we do as an institution. Thanks, Pete. And also you can use things like Google Scholar. Google Scholar is kind of a bigger version of our own Aston Research Explorer. So here you can find, so if you're doing a topic on access to finance in small firms, you can go into Google, which is my DBA. You can go into Google Scholar and you can access what current researchers worldwide are researching on that particular topic. That's quite a cool thing to do because, again, you're demonstrating that you're looking at other work and you're identifying what you can do differently, where your contribution is going to come from. And, you can start to look at where other researchers, as I've said here, are making calls for more work to be done. So a typical research paper might say, well, this was a 2-year project. We set about interviewing bank managers and small firms on access to finance. This was our conclusions that they needed to be very collaborative in order to be able to be successful. This is what we didn't set out to do, or this is what we identified as needing more research work in the future. And what they are signals that a contribution is yet to be made in a number of different areas. And they're quite useful papers to build a proposal around, because you're actually saying, look, it's not Peter or Geoff that says there's more contribution to be made in this area. Other academics who are experts in this area have said more work needs to be done. And that's quite a convincing argument to make in terms of what your proposal should look like. And of course, we're also interested in how it's, the unique characteristic of a DBA is it's practice-based. You guys are practitioners. So what we also want to hear from you is, what's your contribution to practice? You've observed this phenomena happening in the workplace. How is it going to impact if once you've completed your DBA, what difference is it going to make to you, your professional career, and how you execute these kind of new knowledge in the workplace? And like I said right at the outset, this is an investment decision, and you've got to look at it from the perspective of how is it going to change your career? How is it going to change your your professional life? You want a return on this investment, and we're quite keen to hear about that from you in your proposal. Yeah, so shape the proposal around our research centres and our academic expertise. Illustrate an understanding of an academic contribution. You're moving into we're a university. This is an academic qualification, albeit it's based in practice. So we're looking for you to be able to evidence that you've got an understanding of what that's going to mean. As I said, evidence it with some papers that show that this is new knowledge that you'd be creating here. Provide an overview of a research agenda. So what's it like to cover in terms of the data set that you might use? So how would you start to pull together a sample size? We're interested to know what your contacts are so that we can see the practicality of what you're proposing from a nuts and bolt research perspective. Try and illustrate what the research question is. Now, this will inevitably, this research question will change throughout your time with us. As you start to make more discovery and the research process begins, then you're constantly reflecting and tweaking your research question. But it's important that you come into the program via your proposal with an idea of what that research question looks like. It's kind of the elevator test. Can you summarize it in kind of 10 or 20 seconds? That's quite useful because, ultimately we've got to make a judgment as to the validity of the research question, which you can substantiate as a choice because it makes a contribution. So try and summarize, succinctly what the research question could be. An indication of the current state of knowledge around the research areas via theories and literature. So, what do other academics say through Google Scholar, through Aston Research Explorer? What do other researchers say about your area? Okay. Potential research methods. So we're looking for, qualitative or quantitative methods. So do we I think we're all as individuals, kind of wired to think in terms of certain ways. So do we think in terms of numbers and data, or do we think more qualitatively in terms of, what people say or what evidence exists? Do we want to hold interviews with people and look at, dialogue and more qualitative diary entries, much more evidence-based. And so you tell us what you're predisposed. There's no right or wrong answer there. We're just keen to understand from your perspective what you think you're predisposed to do in terms of research methods. That's also quite important to us. And as I said when I started, tell us how you're going to use it. That's quite important. Tell us how you're going to leverage this new qualification, how you're going to monetize it in a sense once you've got it. So that's crafting a good proposal. And I think that's, so I think Pete and I are quite, don't be afraid to ask any questions here. I'm just looking through the chat list. And maybe we can take these one by one. So what's the total duration to pay the total fee and how many months? Do you want to take that one, Pete?
Yeah, absolutely. So I answered that a little bit earlier.
Oh, you did, didn't you? Yeah.
No, that's okay. So I think if we start with Farah, I managed to answer that. Perhaps if you could begin on for everyone's benefit here, Geoff, what triple accredited means from the business school perspective.
Okay, so think of this in terms of a it's kind of it's a university quality assurance process. Universities are we're not like schools. We don't get kind of Ofsted inspected by the government. But what we do have are accrediting institutions, which, so as a university, we obviously qualify to be able to give out degree in the UK. We're allowed to do that by the government, but triple accreditation goes beyond that, because it means that we get independent kind of auditors that come into the university on a kind of 4-5 year cycle, and they test all of our systems, all of our processes, talk to students, talk to DBA students, and make sure that we are meeting the necessary standards in order to be able to meet the required level of standard to be able to offer the degrees that we offer. So AACSB is one. Amber is another one, and just the Equus is the third one. So we have three. Equus is more European based. AACSB is more US based, and Amber, which is the Association of MBAs, and also it takes responsibility for the DBA program. And we have accreditation for all of those three, world leading accreditors, and there's only less than 100 institutions, I think, globally, Pete, that have that triple accreditation. So that's kind of it keeps us on our toes. We guard them very jealously.
Yes, absolutely. I think we're part of the 1% of business schools in the world who hold that accreditation, and from an employment perspective and things, employers understand that. They understand what triple accreditation means, so it can really carry some weight there for future prospects and so forth. So I promise you I'm not taking the easy ones here, Geoff. The next question is, are we getting the slides after? And the answer to that is yes.
Yeah.
But there is a more fitting question for you also from Emmanuel just after that, with regards to the differences between DBA and PhD.
And that's a good question. And I think that you're right to touch on theory, Emmanuel, because I think that is the key, probably the key difference. The PhDs can be, they can be quite creating new theory almost, is one of the aspects which would. There's no reason a DBA couldn't create theory, but more often than not, we're testing theories within a DBA. So PhD is much more theoretically based. I guess here at Aston, I would probably also argue that it tends to be for students pursuing an academic only career. That's not to suggest you can't pursue an academic career with a DBA, because I did. I came into academia after 20 years in industry, and I did the Aston DBA. So you can certainly do it, but I think PhD graduates tend to be they tend to be younger. They often go into a PhD program after perhaps 1 or 2 years of practical application after their master's degree, where DBA students tend to come in. They tend to be slightly older than that. And yes, it is much more about observing phenomena in the workplace and then sitting it within a piece of academic research. So yeah, I think they tend to be more theory based in a PhD program.
Brilliant, thank you, Geoff.
And I think your last sentence there, I think in a sense you're bringing the live project to your research, and I think that's what makes it quite interesting. It also, as an aside, I would probably argue in the research excellence framework, which is basically how the UK government controls how it gives research money to universities, that in more recent years they have rewarded those universities that produce research with impact, i.e. what difference does this research make in the workplace? And I think that increasingly makes DBA research even more relevant, because it is absolutely making an impact. You know, that's what it's about. It's about you identifying what the phenomena is, what the live project is, and what the impact can be of live research in the workplace. So I think in many ways, the wider debate about research in universities is beginning to make DBA research even more important. So yeah, thank you for that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Geoff. The next one comes from Kaza. I've obtained my bachelor's in graphic design and multimedia from Bangladesh, and I completed my master's in animation production in England, where I did my research dissertation on a project that increased my interest in research. Am I eligible to apply with this background? I'm happy to take that one, Geoff, if you don't mind.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, the short answer, unfortunately, Kaz, will be no. We're looking for applicants from a business background, and part of that requirement is to have a business-related master's degree, business or management. So while I commend your interest in research, I think that it would be better suited to perhaps something more relevant to graphic design or multimedia. So thank you for coming all of the same, and I hope you enjoyed it, but this course wouldn't quite be right for you. If there's anything you'd like to add, Geoff, to that.
No. I think that's absolutely spot on, Pete. I mean, I can take the next one, Pete, which is about differences in online and on-site DBA. I mean,
sure.
The Aston DBA is exclusively online. We do have one partnership in Singapore, but it's exclusively online. And I think it's if you think about it, your experience with the supervisory process, particularly, which is the key element of the DBA. Once we get through the first year of the research methods program, the key relationship is between you and your supervisors. These are more akin to business meetings. I mean, you guys are familiar with managing projects at a distance. I'm sure you are. So it's seamless between the progression on your research and communicating online, and I think that's something. I mean, it's something which we're all quite sophisticated now. You get a student ID card if you're in the UK or you're in Birmingham. You can absolutely access the campus like any other student could, and you could come and see your supervisors. That isn't a problem. But the program is managed and is manageable, via an online platform. So don't worry about that.
Wonderful.
Yeah, look, I think the next one is an interesting one. I think it's from Faisal. I think, look, I mean, when it comes to choosing a topic, I think what I would give some thought to is a number of different things. One is look for where there's some dynamism, where there's some drama, where there's kind of a story to tell. When I was thinking about my DBA topic, I am, and I was at the time, a non-executive director of a children's day nursery group, and nothing really at the time. I mean, it's different now, I have to say, but at the time, there wasn't any real kind of key stories I could tell about that business or about that sector. Just didn't have that degree of dynamism. It was a very stable market and stable business. I did mine at the time. I was also a commercial finance broker, and I started mine, I think, 2007, 2008, the time of the financial crisis. Big drama. And that's why I chose the topic I chose, which was about access to finance in small firms. People were looking for, how can we solve this problem? And also, I think when it comes to choosing a topic, you've got to think about, this is a time commitment, and the more that it relates to either your current workplace or the work that you want to do in the future, if you're looking for a career change. I mean, it's often some DBA students are looking to enhance their CV by undertaking a DBA. the more that it does that, then if you think about it, you're leveraging your time, aren't you? It's good, it's smart productivity. The time spent on your DBA is either helping your existing role or a role that you want to do in the future. And occasionally, it does not very often, but occasionally we get a proposal from somebody who's just kind of they're only intrigued by something, or they've got like a curiosity about something. Now, curiosity is good, but it's got to be relatable to your professional life in either what you're doing now or what you're doing in the future. Otherwise, it's not a hobby, this study. This isn't a hobby. It's it's kind of a serious piece of research, and you've got to look at it, as I said earlier, as a piece of something that you want to get some form of payback from. So yeah, so that's what I would think about in terms of, how am I going to find a topic? Find a topic which is relatable to what you do now, or what you want to do in the future, and where there's some drama. Where when somebody says to you, it's okay, so what's your DBA about? And you tell them, they say, oh yeah, that's interesting. People can get it straight away. That I think is, and of course, all the rules that I've explained earlier about contribution and all these kind of things, is also got to be applicable. But in terms of finding that topic, Faisal, just make sure it's going to be something interesting. I'm just reading the next one from Greg here. Yeah, no, look, so Greg, look, check out our, we do in our operations department, operation informations department. So if you click through from Research Explorer, you'll see our departments in there. You'll see the operational teams in there. They do a lot of work on risk and insights from an operational perspective. So that's where I would look for. They do a lot of work on disaster recovery and these kinds of things. And we've got a number of DBA students that are working on those areas right now. So look for anything that's associated with operations or crisis management. That's where you'll start to find issues around risk. Leadership and management, Takuya. If you're looking for organizational development, then it's the leadership and management team that you need to look at. They're the guys that look at organizational developments, how organizations are structured, how they're led, how staff are motivated, all these kind of issues, how they cope with change, all these kind of issues. It's leadership and management. Yeah, so far as I think, sorry, forgive me, Emmanuel. Yeah, I mean, leadership and management. If your topic is around organizational development, and is related to the theories around organizational development, then leadership and management would be the one for you to look at, for sure. If everything is online 100%, when and how should we practical testing of theories happen in the work? So look, I mean, if you think about it, the test of a DB, if you think about an MBA or an MSc, you have to pass, 8 modules and submit a dissertation. The only thing that matters in a doctoral degree program, I mean, yes, you've got to pass the 4 research methods modules in year 1, but the only test that really counts, that really counts, is you have to write a circa 60,000 word thesis, and you have to defend it face to face in a viva. That's what you have to do. That's where the final test happens. And so how you evidence that you've got to that point and you're capable of getting to that point is that you are writing. You have to write papers, you have to write chapters that kind of tells the story of your research. So you have to if you're doing quantitative research, for example, you've got to set some hypotheses, go out and collect some data. Does the data statistically support those hypotheses, and if so, which ones? Or if we're doing more grounded research, then we're going out and we're interviewing people and we're coding the interviews, and we are assessing, are they supporting our research question or not? That's the that's what that's what the test is. The test is around writing. It's about being able to argue and defend your case is what it's about. I hope that answers your question, Emmanuel. For us, any opportunity to collaborate internationally with the researchers? For sure. I mean, I supervise a DBA student. He is based in New York in the US. You know, there's various. We've just written a conference paper. He is presenting that at a conference paper in the US. He's already beginning to, you know, build a network of other academics in North America. You know, as academic faculty in a UK university, you know, we collaborate a lot with other institutions, and therefore our research students do. So yeah, for sure. Ahmed, yes, look, I think, as I said, the first year is about teaching the basics of research methods. So it's looking at qualitative and quantitative research. It's looking at impact. It's looking at research philosophy. It's important, you know, what do we mean by truth? What do we mean by being realistic? So there are kind of some philosophical questions which in a doctoral degree you'd expect to be in there. But really, the first year is about giving you the toolkit to be able to go out and complete your research. Okay, we're not setting out to make you an expert in quantitative methods. That isn't what it's about. It's about giving you the necessary knowledge so that when you can understand what quantitative test you need to do on your data set, you can find it and you've got the capability of being able to execute it. So that's what happens in the first year. We give you the toolkit in order to be able to give you the skill set to carry out the research on your project. After that, we appoint some supervisors. 8 months after that, you see what's called a qualifying report that ensures, you know, that everybody's happy that we've got a piece of work here that's got that can make a contribution and we can operationalize it. And once we've done that, then you know you basically you operationalize the research. You get out there and you collect the data and you you know you discuss it and make some conclusions. So I hope that yeah. So those after that first year, yes, Ahmed, you'd be working with your supervisors. Ahmed, I think it's just flicking down here. I keep kind of Ahmed, yeah. So my research proposal we sent on the AI and ML risk management in banking and finance. So yeah, 100%. You know, obviously, you know, we're getting a lot of proposals now about the applications of AI in particular. So yeah, absolutely right. And we have an economics department and we have a accounting and finance department. So you know, we'd certainly have that topic covered. Yeah, look, Emmanuel, I'd have to kind of, I mean, really to get into the detail of a particular research question, you'd need to make a formal application. We could have a look at a proposal. Okay. I mean, certainly the impact of the 24-hour economy. I think it looks, if I a quick top of my head, that looks like a very broad topic to me. So you need to kind of, you know, from you know, what aspect? Is it retail? Is it distribution? Is it IT? Is it support? Is it services? Is it production? You know, you'd have to dig a little bit deeper to figure out what's meant by that. And also remember what I said, you know, if I went into Google Scholar and went into economic theory about the 24-hour economy, what would it say? Who's doing work in that area? And what are they saying is still left to produce? I think is something which Yeah, so my advice there would be to try and break that down a little bit more. I hope that helps. As far as is the term online written on, is it Peter? I think you've answered that already, haven't you? That one.
That's right. Yeah, it isn't written on the certificate. No, it may say distance learning on the transcript, but on the certificate, it's identical to a certificate you would find in an on-ground program.
Could this be a topic that Aston DBA Centre consider? My concern is this is going to be on developing. Look, I mean, no, developing economies is something which, you know, that's part of being a dynamic topic, Emmanuel, isn't it? I mean, you know, we do a lot of research in developing economies. That's the context. We would describe that as the context through which you're observing this phenomena. So yeah, we have a lot of DBAs that are looking at developing markets. It's a good question, that, Jem. Look, I think this. I mean, the short answer to that question is, I mean, you could do, but it wouldn't be advisable, I think. I mean, the process of writing a proposal isn't kind of, here's 10 topics, which one do you think is going to be the best? You know, we're trying to get you to think about, as I said earlier, you know, where's the dynamic element to this particular topic, and how does it sit in this individual's professional life now or in the future? You know, I mean, there aren't many limitations. We haven't got many guys that are experts in farming, I don't think. But although having said that, we're currently looking at a project with, you know, with vertical agriculture. So that would be one, and the business potential for that. So yeah, there aren't many topics that we don't do, but you know, we're really looking for you in the application stage to be able to articulate, tell the story. You know, we do. This isn't about, you know, this isn't about Aston saying, we've got a topic that we want some work doing on, let's find a DBA student to do it. That isn't what it's about. We're looking for you to develop the topic. It is more than likely that we'll have other teams of researchers working on it. But, you know, it's important that, you know, at the outset, you know, this is something that's your baby, you drive it. Okay.
Wonderful. I think we've reached the end. If anybody has any more questions, please feel free to drop a quick message in. But otherwise, first of all, thanks again for everybody for taking the time to join Geoff and myself for today's session. If you'd like to book in a call to have a closer chat about the DBA, please scan that QR code there, or drop us an email at inquiries@aston.online.ac.uk. And thank you for your time as well, Geoff. Really appreciate it.
No worries. No worries. Nice to meet you guys again.
As
Peter, thanks for coming. And as I said, it's an important, you know, you need to look upon it as due diligence, and that's important. So well done for coming.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again to everybody who's joined us. I think I remember one person is dialed in from Australia, so it must be about 4 a.m. there. So I think that's dedication already showing its head. So wishing you all a wonderful rest of your day, afternoon, evening, and look forward to speaking soon. Take care now. Goodbye.
Take care, guys. Cheers. Bye.